Did you know that Rolex broke their own sales record last year, netting, get this, $10 billion? How is that even possible? You can get watches for like $10 on Amazon, or you don't even need a watch. You can just check your phone. Because with Rolex, you're not just wearing a device that tells time. In fact, Rolex doesn't even advertise anything to do with telling time. Today, I'm excited to break down a few of the most iconic brands in the world: Rolex, Hermès, and De Beers, that use pricing, exclusivity, and narrative, not just to sell, but to signal status symbol. Okay, comes to Rolex. Time is status. Let's be honest. Rolex is not selling watches. They're selling what happens to your identity when you wear a Rolex. The ads don't say, look how accurate we are. We can really get time down to a millisecond. They say, look what you've earned. It's not about keeping time. It's about marking a moment, a milestone, an arrival. That's what people are paying for. And Rolex knows that. If you're not buying the watch, you're buying the status. Then you've got Hermès, the long game of longing. This is a really interesting case, and there's been many great interviews and case studies around Hermès. The Birkin bag that Hermès made is like the Ivy League of accessories. You don't just walk into a store and buy one. You can't. You wait, and you have to prove that you're worthy of paying an exorbitant amount for a handbag. Hermès has made luxury a process. The process itself, the wait itself, that's the experience, that's the narrative, that's the story. In fact, oftentimes you have to buy several other things at the store, make friends and relationships with the sales associates, and you can't have your assistant do it. You have to do it yourself. When it finally arrives, it's not just a bag, it's now your badge, your Ivy League type badge of honor. You were chosen, you passed the test, you were invited to buy an Hermès Birkin bag. This isn't a purchase, it's like a coronation, it's like a graduation. You're now part of the alumni community. And number 3, De Beers. Now, some might say not exactly a luxury brand, but equally as important to note what De Beers was able to create with diamonds. They prove that you can script scarcity, how you use scarcity as a way to reframe how something is seen and desired. Diamonds were actually not rare at all. But De Beers was the one that made them feel sacred. They changed the narrative. They controlled the narrative. Diamonds all of a sudden equaling the sign of love, the sign of forever. Suddenly it wasn't just a shiny rock. It was the ritual, the emotional contract, the sign of when you propose to someone to be the partner for the rest of your life. That is what a diamond means. A diamond means true love and forever. They actually invented the reason you propose with a diamond and made that reason feel timeless and priceless. Now, that is the psychology of luxury. Your takeaway: these brands aren't pricing high for ego. They're engineering desire. It's not about ego. It's about trying to create that desire. They use scarcity. They use storytelling. They use pricing like a tuning fork to set emotional resonance. If you're building something premium, ask yourself, what does owning this say about someone? And how do you make that message feel earned? Those 2 questions. Because people don't just buy with wallets, they buy with emotion and identity. So the next time somebody asks why people still buy Rolexes, wait for Birkins, or propose with diamonds, just tell them it's not about utility. It's about meaning. It's about signaling. And most of all, it's about status that tells a story. Tag a brand that you think really does this well or really gets this, or call out one that you think is just playing expensive dress up. That's not really worth it. And if you missed last week's episode on Amanda's Playbook on how pricing creates and shapes experiences, it's a must watch, if I don't say so myself. I will see you next time. Please, if you can, support me by subscribing to my channel. It costs nothing. It takes a second. And I will always be here to talk about how we can decode influence and build it. So I'll see you guys back here next time.